This is the Steven Wilson studio albums rankings. Before we start and get into that, I've got a little test for you, and there's meaning behind the test. Let's do the apple test. So close your eyes and picture an apple. Can you see the apple? I understand a large amount of people can't see that apple. Like more than 50%. And I'm going to try to find the link. I was looking for the link to the story. I read a story about this, how most people can't visualize the apple if they close their eyes. I can, but not all the time. But also, why would I bring this up now? Are you like me? Do you just have songs rolling around in your head all day long? And I've pretty much been like that forever. And if you get a Steve Wilson song stuck in your head, look out because the content is dreary often. What I want you to do is, if do me a favor, can you see the apple? Just leave a comment, yes or no. And I'm just curious, if you can, what do you see? If you have songs rolling around in your head, just tell me a little bit about that in the comments. I'd be interested. I can't be the only person, okay? Well, let's get into it. Steven Wilson, he is the singer. He's a member, leader, producer, and songwriter for Porcupine Tree, No Man, Blackfield, and other projects. He's a multi-instrumentalist that focuses on guitar, synths, bass. Mainly, his main instrument is the guitar, though. And he launched his official solo career in 2008 with Insurgentis, I always say Insurgentis or Insurgentis. Okay. The power of Steven Wilson is defined by his guitar playing with excellent solos and lead parts. The precision comes from the execution of the arpeggiated riffing and songwriting, the precise playing. He never wastes a note or rhythm ever. And the performance, each album sounds terrific. The performance of Steven Wilson and his regular sidekicks and guests is always excellent. If I have one bone to pick, I wish on especially the Steven Wilson, but also the Porcupine Trees. Could you turn the volume up a little bit? Because all my other CDs, I don't have to blast to hear the music. But he likes this. He likes this wide range of low and high of volume. That's just me. Okay. In the Porcupine Tree songs, they're more progressive, psychedelic in nature with some metal, and the running theme is generally teenager angst or problems and drugs in the lyrics. You'll hear it a lot, over and over. Not all the time, but a lot. In his solo career, you get some of the overlapping genres, but the implementation is more geared towards progressive, prog pop, jazz fusion, and rock. Okay. However, I'll say the familiar Steven Wilson songwriting stamp is both in Porcupine Tree and his solo career. I'm not a big Blackfield guy. I'm going off the railroad tracks a bit here. I've tried listening to it. I'm not too fond of it, but you can hear it in that too. Okay. I just don't tend to go that way. But yeah, the Steven Wilson songwriting stamp it's familiar and it's there. The time signature changes, the cadence of the rhythm guitars, the differences between Steven Wilson solo and Porcupine Tree isn't too significant. However, he is more free to do what he wants to do in his solo career. Okay, and when he's not under the confines or restrictions of band life. Steven was born in 1967. This makes Steven a Gen Xer. However, I've heard him say in his podcast that grunge or early 90s rock that you hear, whether it's Nirvana or whatever, that doesn't interest him. However, I can sort of hear how it's influenced him just in the sounds he likes to make. All right, without any further ado, I'll stop yapping and let's just get right into it, okay? All right, number 6 is 2021's The Future Bites. This is the most recent release. It's oh, I've got it ranked last. Um, let's see, what is this? This is light pop. Um, it's a good recording. It's got the precision and the preciseness to it of all the Steven Wilson stuff. But why the dramatic change, Steven? This isn't driving around music, or it's not working music. It's not working out music. This it's mostly like electronic, and for Steven, it's light on guitar. To me, this is just yoga music only. Okay. Released during the pandemic, Steven has said that he had a longer album in the works made with different songs, and the pandemic caused a delay, of course, and allowed him to revisit and write new material. And there's no filler here. There's usually no filler with Steven. He makes the most of each song. Okay, it's not my favorite. Um, the theme of the album is modern day problems. So, he's singing mostly about Donald and Boris and Instagram talkers and related technology driven issues like internet shopping in a consumer centric world. It's all me, 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 me. You guys know how it is. Me, 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 buy, buy, buy. Scented candles, okay? uh, the packaging is different. This comes in the most unusual jewel case. Look at how it's all white. So that's not, the whole thing is white. Okay, and then that's stamped on it. That's stamped. It says Steven Wilson, The Future Bites, but it's all in weird numbers. Okay. Also, it's made in Czech, and it's got all kinds of weird stuff in it. I think yesterday when I was looking at this was the first time I ever opened up the booklet. I just usually listen to it. Uh, yeah. The best track on here is Personal Shopper. It's a like a 10-minute epic, and it's got like a dancing disco rhythm to it, and yeah, it's kind of cool. It's repetitive in a disco kind of way. I mean, I like it. Ghost King is a good track. That's one of the ones I like. Um, what's notable about this is Richard Barbieri makes a guest appearance. He's from Porcupine Tree. He's a keyboard player. Nick Beggs is on here a little bit. Adam Holzman returns, and Elton John he's doing the voiceovers in the Personal Shopper track. He's the one, scented candles, box sets. Michael Spearman appears to be the drummer on most of the tracks, and that's different for Steven. Okay, so number 6, The Future Bites. You can check it out. It's not terrible. It's pretty good, actually. It's just my least favorite. Number 5, Insurgentis from 2009. Powerful record. This is mainly a Steven Wilson, Gavin Harrison effort with some guest appearances by Tony Levin. This one comes with a neat cardboard sleeve, which is the same on the front and the back. Makes you feel more like you're getting a record album, like a vinyl, than a CD. Yeah, so this is mainly a Steven Wilson, Gavin Harrison effort, who's the drummer for Porcupine Tree, but also King Crimson. And with some guest appearances by Mr. King Crimson himself, Tony Levin, the bass player. Steven must have been working on this at the same time as Porcupine Tree, The Incident, which came out in August of 2009. And I think it's like back to back for him, or he's doing both at the same time, which he's apt to do. Theo Travis on woodwinds makes a guest appearance. Also, a guy named Michio Yagi playing the 17-string bass koto on the title track Insurgentis. Also on that track, the title track. There's a Steinway piano, which was it's notable in the credits. So recorded at St. Bartholomew's Church in Brighton, which yesterday I went and looked at the pictures of the church. I Googled it. Great big Church of England, Anglo-Catholic style church. Huge. Like, at least by the pictures, it looks like it's a huge church. Must have had great acoustics because the bum, bum, ba, ba, you know, that piano line you hear in that really hooks me right from the beginning in that song. So that's one of my top tracks. The top tracks for me are Harmony Korine, the first track, Abandoner, Significant Other, Only Child, I like, Get All You Deserve, Insurgentis, and maybe even Venimo para las Hadas. This album contains a lot of like noisy industrial electronic scariness and sort of that grungy, but sort of somewhere in that grungy industrial feel. But it's not grunge. I'm not saying it's a grunge album. It's more industrial jazz like than anything. And it's a great debut album by Steven. This is I want to get real jazzy, weird kind of music album. And if you're into jazz or jazz fusion or industrial sounds, you're going to like this. Powerful record. Number 5, Insurgentis. Number 4, To the Bone. Came out August 2016. This is an excellent performance record for Steven. To the Bone, the title track, right away has some ripping and cool harmonica solos. It gets off to a fast start and definitely introduces the theme to the album. And the opening line is like, I can hear it. If you do that close your eyes thing, I can hear the song right now in my head. Okay, it's catchy. It's a good catch. Nowhere Now is a nice track. It always reminds me of Tom Petty, Learning to Fly, the way it sounds, and even the music videos are similar if you've ever watched the music videos to those two. That's the second track. The Same Asylum as before, Steven Wilson ripping on his Fender Telecaster. You know, if I close my eyes, I can hear that one too. The standout tracks on this album are Refuge and Detonation and Song of Unborn. The pop tracks, this is where he's starting to get... He's introducing more and more of those proggy poppy type songs. The pop tracks are Pariah, which Nanette has a starring role in, Permeating, Blank Tapes, and Song of I. The pop tracks are just okay. One time I was listening to this album, and when Permeating came on, JJ came running out of his bedroom and was like, "Dad, just to let you know, I like this song." Then he went running back. JJ was about 9 or 10 back then, so that's my best memory from this album. The theme of this album seems to be the running thread of getting to the truth, getting down to the bone, as he sings in the first, cutting down to the bone. Look at the album cover. He's just getting bare naked here. 6 feet underground, we move back. Okay. What is the meaning of life with all the pain in the world? Contemplation. That's sort of the running thread to the whole album. Some of the notable musicians here are Nick Beggs. He's doing bass and stick on just a couple of tracks, not all of them. Steven's doing a lot of the bass playing, actually. Adam Holtzman's back on keys and piano. Craig Blundell's doing a lot of the drumming, along with Jeremy Stacy, who's the King Crimson kick-ass drummer. Nanette Tayeb, I mentioned, she's the superstar here. I mean, she's amazing on some of these songs. Pariah, okay. So Nanette's on here in full force impact. Michael Kilminster, he did the tour. I can't remember which tour. I think the previous tour. He's just not playing guitar, but he's doing the vocals on some of the songs. And then someone named Mark Feldman, Feltham, Mark Feltham. He's the harmonica on To the Bone, which has a real high impact, and also on Refuge, he's playing harmonica. Unfortunate that this record has a mix of prog masterpieces along with the pop or the prog pop, whatever you want to call it. And Steve Wilson, although the prog stuff on here is tremendous, he's trending in the wrong direction. So that's why I've got this one, somewhere in the middle. Number 4. Just real quickly here on the 3 big memorable tracks on To the Bone. Refuge. Refuge is this song. It must be about the Syrian refugees from the crisis that happened in the war. Remember, Syria had that, sort of had a civil war going on in there. Remember the whole "What is Aleppo" thing? Well, it's a serious song, and it's a big prog, like a for Steven, it's more of a slower lumbering song. I didn't like it when I first got this album. I didn't like it for a long time, but it's grown on me a lot. I would pick it as one of the top 3 tracks for sure. And then Detonation. Detonation is a song we wrote sort of from the perspective, I'm guessing, just based on the lyrical content of a suicide bomber, maybe in Iraq or Syria or Afghanistan or something. It's pretty heavy. What's unique about it is that it has this repeating synthesizer thing that sounds like an ambulance, like a. I mean, I can hear it in my head, but it's just a big prog, excellent track, and the first couple of stanzas are pretty funny. It's not funny content; it's just funny the way he writes about it. And then the very last track, "Song of the Unborn." This track is, it's personal to me. Now he's described it as he's writing about the people that are so they don't know what to make of modern day life, that they don't want to have children. That's how down in the dumps they are. That's what he's writing about. I have a different interpretation of it. It's not what you possess, it's how you express the essence of you. That track does a lot to me. The Song of Unborn. That's one of those that I could listen to on repeat, and it's powerful. The topic is powerful. The music is powerful. And in the middle, it has that Kate Bush that he likes, that the boys choir singing it. Okay, I like the song. I like the song a lot. Okay, this is all from To the Bone. To the Bone. Number 3 is Grace for Drowning, September 2011. This one's got everything. It's got the power, it's got the performance of the band, and the precision and execution. The monster double disc prog rock behemoth. It's prog, it's jazz fusion. Normally, now let's address this right away. Normally, I don't know where to put 2 CD releases like this, a double discer, because you get uneven content and filler. And if you don't know what I mean, think of The Wall or Physical Graffiti or the White Album by the Beatles or Metallica's Hardwired to Self-Destruct, which is not good. Let's just start. That's not good. This album is more prog than jazz. With the song structures, you got your typical intro, verse, chorus, verse, bridge, verse, chorus, solo. But the songs have the jazzy sound with lots of traditional jazz instruments. So I'll lean that this is somewhere between prog and jazz fusion. It's not jazz in the sense that it's going to go off on this whirly tangent where the time signatures don't make sense and you got dissonant chords and nothing repeats itself. So I would say it's a jazz fusion prog with a jazzy influence on the instruments type record. Okay, let's get into it. The noteworthy tracks here are Sectarian. Dun 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 dun. That's the typical Steven Wilson stamp, by the way. And see what I mean when I say that I've got songs in my head. Like I don't have to turn that on. I can just hear that. Okay, never mind. Deform to Form a Star. No Part of Me. Remainder of the. Let's come back to Postcard. Remainder of the Black Dog. Belle de Jour. Index. Index. Raider 2. Track 1, 2. Okay, track 1, Raider 2. And Like Dust I've Cleared from My Eye. Those are the picks. Raider 2, this is the Mammoth epic track. It's on disc 2. Seems like Steven was really heavily influenced by King Crimson's Level 5 here. If you don't know what I mean, just go back, go get your The Power to Believe and listen to Level 5. Listen to it a couple times and then listen to Raider 2 right after it. And you'll hear the similar performance, okay? But it's an amazing performance on the. I'm not saying he copied Level 5. I'm just saying it might be under the influence there. Index is like my theme song. A catalog I preserve and I index. Pat Mostel, I never know how to say his name. Pat Mostelato from King Crimson is the kick-ass electronic drummer here on Index, bringing the power. Pat's on, if you know King Crimson, he's on Thrak, The Power to Believe, and The Construction of Light. So he's here. And a Postcard, let's address Postcard right now. That's the song where Steven sits on his piano and he sings almost like he wrote a letter to his father who had recently passed. And I found myself singing along with it yesterday because it's number one, it's a nice, pleasant song, but a catchy tune and a great performance. And he really knows how to bring the emotion out in his writing. Guest appearances on this record include this is the first time you're going to see Nick Beggs on a Steven Wilson playing bass or stick. Mr. King Crimson, Tony Levin's back on bass and stick. Pat Mastelato, of course, I mentioned. Theo Travis on woodwinds. Trey Gunn. Trey Gunn on stick or war guitar. Nick France on drums. He's like a jazz drummer. Adrian Bellew. What is this, a King Crimson album? I mean, it's like got half a King Crimson here. And Steve Hackett is on Remainder of the Black Dog, which is a... I like that little. It's a great performance by all of these people. The tour must have been awesome because on the tour he brought Nick Beggs, Adam Holtzman, Marco, and Theo, and that must have been amazing to hear them play this kind of music. I wish I could have seen it. Maybe I'll go find the Blu-ray, but it must have been awesome. So let's do this. This is number 3. Grace for Drowning. Highly recommend it. Number 2 is The Raven That Refused to Sing and Other Sundry Stories from February 2013. Now, this is a scary ghost stories, and it's got Nick's here. Nick's on the whole album. Okay, Adam's on the album. Marco is the drummer. And then we're going to bring in Guthrie Govan on lead guitar. 6 tracks from end to end. This makes an excellent experience. And for the first track from Luminal, it looks like the Man on the Moon, right? Or a moon? I'm not sure what that is. Steven's got weird album covers. From the first track, Luminal, you get the idea of what this album is all about. It's a mix of 70s prog rock with Mellotron, and you got some unruly jazz sprinkled in throughout. You can really hear it here. Theo Travis is back, playing an even bigger role on this album with he's got the sax and the flute going. The other thing notable, they used the original King Crimson Mellotron on this album. And I even saw a Twitter post where Steven Wilson he procured one for himself, like a 70s or a late 60s Mellotron. uh, Perhaps Luminal is the weakest track here. It's not a weak track. There's a real flavor of like that Yes precision and the King Crimson power in the mix, especially on that track. And that general musical tapestry finds its way into every track. With the Pin Drop, the Holy Drinker, and Drive Home, you get the Mellotron, the Hammond, and the synth, the Mini Moog performances by I would assume it's Steven and Adam Holtzman doing all that, the Mellotron, Hammond, and synth. I think Steven likes to drive the synth, and the Mellotron. I think he's tickling the ivories on the Mellotron. This is the touring band on every track, including the outstanding lead guitarist Guthrie Govan. Okay, so he's brought those guys back to make this album, and especially Drive Home is beautiful and powerful at the same time, with the arpeggios at the beginning and the big Mellotron sound. He kind of like makes me want to float away. The Holy Drinker and his curse. You get the precise Hammond organ, and then Theo Travis is in there noodling at the beginning. It's really powerful to listen to. The Pin Drop. The Pin Drop's got a lot going on. La la. This is the best of those three middle tracks, the Pin Drop. With the arpeggios and the big sax solo going on in there. Okay, and then the Watchmaker makes my list of all-time favorite tracks. It's an epic 11-minute track, but actually, Luminal's longer at 12 minutes, but it feels like the Watchmaker's longer. He's singing about murder again. And the saxophone's really prominent, the flute, the piano, the lead guitar playing, the do-do-do. I think I screwed that up. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. You know what I mean? It's in the Watchmaker. It's all in there. It's one of the best songs you'll ever hear. But perhaps the coolest track on here, I mean, the Watchmaker might be the best track you ever hear, but the coolest track is the Raven that refused to sing. And the music video is quite a performance by Lasse Hoyle, who's Steven's cameraman and photographer and videographer and does all the stuff for Porcupine Tree and Steven. It's a music video of the song, and it's got a memorable cartoon style. And it's, when I'm watching it, if my kids are around, they'll stop and they'll sit down and watch it. And it's Steve Wilson, so of course it's about death. And the haunting piano is usually what gets me sucked into a song like that, or Postcard, or Insurgentus. But it's big here right at the beginning. The piano draws you in. And the Mellotron is, it's a big effect, the biggest ever maybe for Steven. The Mellotron is huge, big impact, especially at the end. Oh, I mean, maybe it's an orchestra, I don't know, but it sounds like a Mellotron. If you have a Mellotron like that, why would you put an orchestra in it? But the ending to the Raven is goddamn amazing. Okay. Let's do this one, number 2, the Raven that refused to sing. Okay, number 1, Hand Cannot Erase, February 2015. The idea here is modern life creates isolation and death and destruction. And the star team of Nick, Marco. Marco was the drummer on all but one track, I think. Adam's back and Guthrie Govan's back. They return for the follow-up album to The Raven. And honestly, from end to end, this probably isn't as good as The Raven, but what it does better is it gives you bigger, more emotional, hard-hitting moments. Even more emotional than The Raven, okay? Nanette Tayeb has a prominent lead role in two of the songs, Routine and Ancestral. And the Mellotron is back in a big way. This is a concept album based on a true story. I've rewritten a little bit. Stephen had read in the paper about a young woman that dies, and she had a nice, fulfilling, rewarding life, and she died, and nobody even realized it for 2 years. She's just dead in her apartment. This is somewhere in the UK. It's just creepy. How do you not know? Well, I guess Stephen, when he read it, was so he was so affected by it that he went and wrote this album, and that's the theme here. So it's the kind of story you'd expect from Stephen after The Raven. The sequel goes to, it's like the next level of concept, but this is where he starts to add some of the pop in for the first time. So it's starting to creep its way in, but it's not damaging the album in anywhere. And this is a long album. It's 66 minutes long, okay? You'll see here that I have the Blu-ray. I started to get these Blu-rays back, 10 or 12 years ago. I don't know why I was doing that instead of buying the CDs. Now I'm starting to replace them, so I got to get this on CD. But for this one I got the Blu-ray, and then it came with a free digital copy, which is how I got it on my phone. Otherwise, how else would I get it on my phone? But okay, I digress. The top picks here are First Regret, 3 Years Older, Routine, Home Invasion, and Regret number 9, which incidentally on here it's 2 separate tracks, okay? But on the old iPod it's 1 track. That's how it was. I don't even know if you can see that. You probably can't even see that. Just screw it. He paired some of the tracks together. So Home Invasion, Regret number 9 is 1 track on the iPod. Ancestral and Happy Returns. The pop tracks are Hand Cannot Erase, Perfect Life, where Nanette and Marco really shine on there. And Transients, maybe that's a throwaway. Okay, let's do it. First Regret and 3 Years Older, they have the Mellotron right away, and the dueling guitars, and the main theme. Okay, see, I can just hear that. Hand Cannot Erase has the Mellotron back. It's a catchy song. And, I caught myself singing to it. I just listened to this like an hour ago. Well, I'll get into that in a minute. A Perfect Life, excellent electronic drumming by Marco. Routine has the Mellotron and Hammond. This song is about the mundane things that can drive you crazy, or anybody crazy. Keep cleaning, keep ironing, keep the cat fed. It's got the best guitar solo. It's got a real haunting piano line. Nanette sings Routine. When she comes back at the end and sings Routine keeps me in line, helps me pass the time, I almost belted out tears, man. Listening to this. I mean, it's powerful. This album will break it down, man. Home Invasion, Regret number 9. It's like I said, it's back to back on the iPod. Adam Holtzman, that's his best performance, especially when Regret number 9 kicks in and he starts out with the huge synth solo, and then you think that's awesome. Then Guthrie has the best guitar solo you'll ever hear. I mean, it's just raw power. And if you haven't heard it, you need to stop what you're doing and go listen to Regret number 9. Okay, maybe I'll put the link in there. That's amazing. Just raw power. Transients is now here's Steven singing about trains again. Oh boy. And it's a terrible break before Ancestral, but maybe you need it. The levity can be good and it goes by. It's a quick song. It's only a couple minutes long. You get into Ancestral. And then you got that beat, and then the Mellotron just builds the music. It just helps it just escalates. This song is the best of the best. Ancestral. It's perfection. It's god tier. It's got precise guitar solo by Guthrie. Theo Travis on the flute going crazy. But Theo, there's so little Theo on this album that he didn't even go on tour with them, which is a shame because he's awesome. And then the last 2 tracks are Happy Returns and Ascendant Huron. And on the iPod there, it's 1 track. Okay, so I usually think of it as 1 track. It's the perfect ending to the album. It kind of brings it back to the main theme that. And it's the main theme of First Regret. It starts playing again, and then it's got this really powerful ending to it, where Guthrie, Govan, and Steven Wilson are trading guitar solos. I think Steven's going first. I want to go back and listen to it again because I think Steven's going first, and then Guthrie comes in with that real heavy, overdriven guitar solo. It reminds me of the Beatles, the end, the last song on Abbey Road, where the 3 of them are rotating the guitars. Okay, Chad Wackerman's the drummer here, and I think he did the tour. I went to the tour. I think he's the drummer on Happy Returns, and he's singing. Steven's singing, "Hey brother, I see your freaks and dispossessed on day release, avoiding the police. Do 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 la 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 la." I love that song. I don't like saying that, but powerful ending. Steven's trying to pay homage here on this album to King Crimson, and he's not trying to sound like King Crimson. Like, it's reminiscent of Lark's Tongue and Aspic or Wake of Poseidon, but it's not. It doesn't sound like that. It's just. But you get a more rich experience listening to Hand Cannot Erase than you would to either of those albums. This is better than any King Crimson album, honestly. To me, it is. That's it. That's the top. This is a 5-star record. I don't understand why it's not the biggest smash hit ever. I mean, maybe it's too depressing or Stevens, whatever it is, but that's awesome. All right, so that's it. Number 6 is Steven Wilson, The Future Bites. Number 5 is Insurgentis from 2008. I've listened to that a lot, by the way. Number 4 is To the Bone. Listen to this a lot. Good grief. Number 3, Grace for Drowning. Okay. Number 2, The Raven. And it's close, but we'll do number 1, Hand Cannot Erase. This is the best one. Yeah, also, I'm not going to go into the EPs, but, Steven likes to do a lot of extra tracks, and this one came out 4.5. Comes with this nice sleeve. I got this on Blu-ray. And also it downloaded to my iPod. But this has got some catchy stuff. I'm not going to rank it. I like My Book of Regrets. Actually, the whole thing. If you haven't heard it, maybe you should check this out, because quite a performance also by Steven. We're at Fix in the Mix. It's not quite a record, so it's more like listening to an extended single or something like that. But it works fine. Okay. Steven, I think what's gonna happen is he's done with Porcupine Tree. I've read that he's got another album coming out probably this summer or early in the fall. Looking forward to that. I hope he goes back. I hope he's not doing more of the pop stuff. I like more of the jazzy prog, jazz fusion, or even if he does more metal like for Porcupine Tree. I just like enough of the pop. We don't need it. It's not that we don't like it. We don't need more of it. And you know, what's with the Kate Bush? I mean, he's always talking about Kate Bush, and if you listen to the podcast, Kate Bush, Kate Bush, Kate Bush. I mean, who cares? I don't want to hear. I don't need the pop influence. Okay. So please do another prog. Do another industrial. Do something. Do Insurgentus Part Two, or do Grace Part Two, or Hannah Cannot Race Part Two. But don't do this Kate Bush nonsense. I just went off the rails right there. Sorry about that. Okay, next. Thanks for tuning in. Leave your comments, like and subscribe, please. Or you don't have to, but actually, I like reading your comments. So if comment on the Apple, or if you have songs in your head. Next week, I'm gonna do Metallica. I'm almost ready to do Rush. I think what I'm gonna do is start. My Rush stage is done. I'm gonna. It's not done. It's still going on. I think it's gonna go on until right through to April. But I'm gonna. My plan there is I'm gonna start doing Rush individual album reviews, and then I'll do a ranking. I'll figure it out. It's hard. It's a lot of records, and it's a bit overwhelming. But I'm gonna do it. So next Metallica, and then individual albums, and I might do some individual Yes albums and King Crimson, since I love that stuff. And that's it. Thanks for listening. Hope to hear from you guys, and I really like doing this, so I'll keep doing it. Thanks, everyone. Keep the power.